Became like an animal, like.
In my experience, most
That's the same game Wayne got kicked out of. The teacher,
Yeah.
You got kicked out as well.
Yeah, and then the weed coach went over to the ref.
Announce this meeting. So that's for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Klur,
Here.
Councilmember Collings,
Here.
Councilmember Stackfleck,
Here.
Councilmember Globman,
Here.
Mayor Redmond.
Here. And there are no special presentations or announcements. We'll move on to public comment. If anybody has anything they want to say for 3 minutes that's not on the agenda. Name and address, please.
I'm David Ream, Shasta, California. My neighbor is Lana Smith. In 1994, we opened the Dream Inn bed and breakfast. And tonight I would ask the mayor if he has anything to say.
It's your 3 minutes. I'm not talking to you. Let's get it over with.
Well, the meeting I did not attend, your last meeting 2 weeks ago, you, Mr. Mayor Redmond, stated, "My bed and breakfast neighbors, they are not paying their TOT. They are shady characters." Is there anything furthermore you'd like to say,
It's your 3
Mr.
minutes.
Mayor Redmond?
Get your 3 minutes over with, or we can just end it right now and cut your mic off.
I've heard you say, "Cut his mic" now twice. Are we shady characters, may I ask? How do you come to this opinion that Lana Smith, an 80-year-old woman, myself, a 75-year-old man, we are shady characters, to quote you? Any comments, sir? I'm a very patient man. I'll wait for your response.
No. Just, that's 3 minutes are done, then he's done. That's part of not talking to him. It's too bad other people in town don't get to enjoy this.
3 minutes.
All right, anybody else for public comment? Seeing none, we will close that, bring it to council and staff comments. Turn it over to Todd. Any updates?
I do, a few. So I confirmed with Park Environmental, a environmental remediation firm, that the old hospital has, the site has been remediated and cleared. And so it's now in the hands of the Bay Area Receivership Group to put together an RFP looking for a developer, not so much, the lowest or highest bid for the site, but who's got the best track record in development and who's got the best proposal for the site. So hopefully that'll be up fairly soon, and I'll keep you posted on it. So I think I mentioned before that Danco Affordable Housing is back on. They've got a combination of tax credits, PLHA funds, and some grant funds from the county, and their recent award of a low-interest bond. So a lot of back and forth with them. They're on a fast track. Jeff and Ken Kellogg and I have been in meetings with them, both, mostly me on the funding parts of it and what tranches of funding and how to make sure that we've got them in the right order and we've got the money ready to go. And on the other end, just specific issues about the site, sidewalks, snow removal, sidewalk width, that kind of stuff. And they're shooting for a pretty aggressive time frame where they break ground in early June. So definitely that's moving along. Been in conversations with Pinsino Holding, my contact, this Frank Bermonte over there, He just got out of the hospital again with pneumonia, so I'm hoping that we come through. But he did have a conversation with K2 about having them take on the affordable housing portion of this once we go through this Surplus Land Act process and they tell us the number of minimum affordable housing units we need to meet. And the other part of this, you know, I want to be careful how to phrase this, imploring them, Pinsino that is, now that they've got at least a 6-month downtime, that they start the public outreach process. And I keep reminding them that if they want success in this community, they need to shop, you know, their programming and make some adjustments as needed. You know, and right now, I don't know if it's just the product of getting over an illness, but it seems to just not register. So I need to keep the pressure up there, and, you know, we have a backup if it falls through. So do you mind if I go through this list? Is this too much? Okay. Okay, so the wastewater treatment plant, we've run into a new issue where copper line froze, and it ended up perforating that line. And held a meeting with Pace Engineering and John Kenny and our people internally to make sure that the message is received that the wastewater treatment plant was to have worked out of the box, and that the expectation is that they step up and they take responsibility, and whether they believe they've got a warranty or not, that they fix this. So that's ongoing. We are now fully certified as a rural EIFD, finally, which is very cool. Let's see. We're working internally on a revamped fee schedule for various services that the city provides. And, you know, there's an all-in rate. It's everything from how, you know, fire inspection services for, you know, building inspections. You know, we've got a more expensive building inspector who can also do plan review, and there will be a greater expense because he's expensive. But now we've moved from 6 to 8 weeks from a plan being submitted to turning it around in a week and a half. So I'm suggesting that we form an ad hoc committee to pre-flight the proposed fee schedule and make sure whoever's on this understands our methodology, and that, you know, 1, and 2, our all-in rate is palatable. I don't want, you know, I don't really want to have a food fight internally on how much we should be charging and then go down in the nitty-gritty details, or we'll bore everybody to death. So I'm figuring let's work out the kinks in an ad hoc committee. One last thing. Had conversations with friends of the library. They had an inspection internally with the Northeast Document Conservation Center, who looks at risk. They do risk assessments, you know, in order for the library to have insurance for, you know, their archived books. And they've run into an issue, and their big issue is the storage of the Sisson Museum's stuff in the vault, and that we don't have a formal agreement. And I know there's been an ongoing squabble between the two, but we need to figure out a way, and I'm going to get the two parties together to see if we can work out the issues, and we form a, you know, a workable agreement that we know that we can archive our stuff, keep it safe from theft, so that the library can get insurance. Those are the big things.
Thank you, Todd. Anybody else?
Oh, actually, one more thing.
Okay.
Jeff, do you want to say a few words about Paul?
Yeah, so Paul Beck, as you know, was not reappointed to Planning Commission. I've reached out to him to acknowledge his work. Just wanted to say a little something on the record here that I don't know how long Paul was on Planning Commission, but I think quite a while. So his contribution, it was a memorable one, and we'll appreciate his work, and hopefully we'll see him again someday. So, yeah.
Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, 2024 statistics from our task force officer with the interagency task force. He invested 135 different locations in the county last year, seizing over 216,000 illegal plants, over 44,000 pounds of processed marijuana, 27 illegally possessed firearms, 9 pounds of methamphetamine. Here's one that should scare everybody, 16.5 pounds of fentanyl. Remember, there's 454 grams in a pound, and 0.05 grams is enough to kill somebody. So if you do the math, then we probably killed everybody. It's just you're counting a lot. 24.8 pounds of cocaine, 5.2 pounds of heroin, another 3.2 of other narcotics like psilocybin, concentrated cannabis, and the seizure of nearly $241,000 in illicit funds. The reason I bring this up is we have a thriving legal marijuana industry within Mount Shasta area, and this illegal operation, this is impacting the tax revenue from both the cities and the states. And again, it's money, this illegal operation is funded by money from legal marijuana operations because it's our Prop 64 grant. So that's what we got out of our money's worth last year out of our one officer.
I'm glad to hear the fentanyl's gone, that's for sure. Casey, you had something?
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to, I just wanted to ask if, I know we're doing a general plan update soon in the near future, and I wanted to ask as part of that if we could take a close look at in the municipal code chapter 13.95 and then specifically with 0.030 and line item C, which gives an exemption to fast track permitting for water bottling extraction or extraction of water for water bottling purposes within the city. It seems like a weird thing to have in there, and I just would like to take a look at that with the idea of removing it.
Didn't we have that on the thing through?
Oh, is it already?
For the last couple of years, we've been kicking it down the road for a while.
I figured
it's not really anything that can't happen, but I mean.
Well, that's what I was thinking as part of the general plan update,
Gotcha,
so we don't
okay.
spend a bunch of extra time.
Yeah, what Raven brought up a couple of years back, we've been
Yeah.
putting off for 4 years or something, so.
You know,
But if we can clean that up, I guess, with that section, that would be.
I think we can. Casey brought it to my attention, I think via Raven, got into, that part of the code. Yeah, it's clear as day. It allows fast tracking, almost by right for water bottling within the county and within the city. And it's not real specific on what it considers extraction, not to get down the rabbit hole, but it probably should be tightened up if that's what council thinks that we should do.
Well, yeah, we put that in with the general plan and go over it, so. You got that all typed in there? Sweet.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Casey.
That's all I got.
Any other from the counselors?
Yeah.
John, go ahead.
So CDBG, Community Development Block Grant Program, who is this? Somebody named Holt, Susan Holt, sent a rejection letter to me, probably because at the time we applied for a grant, and I believe it's a planning grant for Mount Shasta Boulevard Master Plan back in the summer. Do you remember that? I kind of remember that. Yeah, it's part of the Main Street rebuild.
Yep, I remember it well. Essentially, we were going to be applying for funds to do the work, and they came back to us and said, construction isn't being funded in this round. The only thing you can be funded for is a plan to do it. And so then we applied for that.
So it's a planning grant, right? Well,
Yep.
It was rejected. And the reason it was rejected is because we have problems with our audits. Now, I got this earlier today, so I didn't really look into it too deeply till I got here, and I see that the only people on the council that received this are myself, and then Melissa got it. You didn't get a copy of this either, Todd,
No.
so I will send it to you, and you can spread it around.
Okay.
Rejection has to do with basically a single audit problem that was mentioned on the 23 audit, a finding. It might be having to do, I may have to do with lack of follow-through by the finance director and the work having to be done by the auditor, maybe? I'm not sure. That's not clear here. But anyhow, it wasn't fixed, so that's why I think it's that, because it wasn't fixed. It was mentioned again by Charles. So something that was found was a finding on the 23 audit was also found as a problem for
Can you
24.
forward that to me too?
Yeah, okay, yeah, for sure. And so, yeah, that's a no.
Got it.
Sorry for the bad news. When I get some good news, I'll bring it to you.
We meet again in 2 weeks. On this side, anything? No? Okay. Moving on to committee updates. Anything new with that, Todd? Or?
We held the DAC committee, and I don't feel like we got a ton done. There are things that are in process. One of the issues is the Flower of Life statue and the contention over that, and some spelling issues on the statute that we need to work out, and some other issues. So yeah. And there are some other issues that we need to take care of.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the consent agenda. City manager recommends approval of the following consent agenda items. All resolutions and ordinances on this agenda or added hereto shall be introduced or adopted as applicable by title only, and the full reading thereof is hereby waived. A, approval of minutes February 24th, 2025, special and regular meetings. B, approval of disbursements, accounts payable February 21st, 25 and February 27, 25. Total gross payroll and taxes for the period ending of February 20 of 25. C, Police Department monthly report, February of 2025. And D, declaration of surplus Police Department vehicle. Do you have a motion?
Move to approve consent agenda items A through D by title only.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Opposed is none. And now, moving on to first agenda item, Child Abuse Prevention Month. And Rachel, you have anything to say before I read this? Oh, here we go. Perfect. Okay, sorry.
Hi, okay. Hi, everybody. How are you? Thank you for your service. My name is Allison Skoll, and I just wanted to, I'm here for Child Abuse Prevention Month, which actually starts in April. So there's all kinds of activities happening around the county. In fact, this is one of 10 meetings that I've set up to adopt a proclamation to prevent child abuse. And it's also, we've teamed up with Siskiyou Domestic Violence and Crisis Center, so it's also Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and also Week of the Young Child, and so that is the first week of April 5th through 11th, and so we invite you to do any activities, the binders that you have, there's some contact information, and then I personally, there's something that where you can nominate a champion for children, and I personally already have nominated 2 people, and one of them is Susan Keeler, who's worked for 40 years with children. I'm not even sure she knows that I've nominated her, and then also Will Newman. And so I just, we do have a proclamation, and if you'd like, I will read it. Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, go right ahead, yeah.
Okay, so April 2025, the Siskiyou Child Abuse Prevention Council Collaborative Proclamation, whereas to become healthy adults, all children deserve to live in a safe, stable, and nurturing homes and communities. Whereas children are vital to Siskiyou County's prosperity and future success, whereas the people of Siskiyou County believe in the celebration of life, inclusion, and hope through our children, deplore and condemn acts of violence committed upon children of our community. Whereas the lives of children who have been hurt or lost to child abuse are honored and studied. Their stories are studied in order to prevent future abuse and protect the innocence, health, and lives of all our county's children. Whereas child abuse, rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment impact our society, whereas child abuse, neglect, and sexual assault prevention is a community responsibility affecting both the current and future generations, whereas research has shown enormous impact, that positive parenting practices have on a child's social, emotional, and intellectual development and future success, whereas communities that understand the importance of prevention and support for the well-being of children citizens thrive and prosper, whereas effective child abuse and sexual assault prevention succeed because of partnerships among citizens and all sectors of the county, whereas April is the month to focus public attention on the needs of all children and prevention of sexual assault, whereas with leadership, dedication, and encouragement, there is evidence that we can be successful in preventing child abuse and sexual violence in Siskiyou County. Therefore, we hereby proclaim April as Child Abuse Prevention and Sexual Assault Awareness Month, as well as April 5th through the 11th, 2025 as Week of the Young Child. So we call upon all citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, elected leaders, and businesses to increase their participation in efforts to support families, thereby preventing child abuse and strengthening families and communities in which we live. And I do believe these are our most innocent, cherished people, and it's our job to watch out for all innocent people and all people that are in fragile circumstances, including the elderly. And so there are some handouts about protective factors in keeping children safe. And so I encourage you to read that. And also understanding adverse childhood experiences and how that affects children into their adulthood and how that affects their success level. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody have anything, questions or anything before we open this up to public comment? No? All right. Anybody in the public want to comment on this? No? Okay, we'll close that. Rachel, what's the resolution number on this?
Proclamation number CCP-25-01.
It is a one, okay, gotcha. All right, anybody want to say anything before the motion?
So I'll move to adopt Proclamation CCP-25-01, declaring April to be Child Abuse Prevention Month and Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
We got a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? None? All right. Moving on, number 9, priority for water and sewer service to affordable housing developments. Jeff, this is yours.
Council members, this was continued or rolled over from the last council meeting. And in very brief, it is one of many soon to be before you initiatives that were kicked loose by the adoption of our housing element. Essentially, this policy is as guidance only. There's no legislative or statutory bearing that this would bring to bear on any of your decisions. It's policy only, so which, as you know, policy will guide decisions and legislative action by you moving forward. You'll likely see more of these coming your way. We have about 75 programs in the adopted housing element which require some degree of action by you. This is, I guess, what I would call kind of the softer side of the legislative toolkit. So it's policy stuff that crafts your approach to legislation moving forward. Particularly, this implements housing element program 1.0 3.3, which is required by state law to essentially create a policy statement which says that you will not deny or condition a housing project that qualifies as affordable by state law on the provision of water. So it doesn't say that we need to establish a priority, even though they use the word priority, of water service over commercial or non-housing projects. It just simply says that we can't deny one or condition it with water service. There are a series of exceptions. There's 7 of them. Among them are water storage problems, distribution problems, water shortages or drought conditions, fire hardening, and so on. So it's a pretty common policy statement. In my experience, most of the jurisdictions, if not all of them, that I've researched and served have adopted similar policies for every cycle of the housing element. So that's it in a nutshell. Happy to answer questions for you.
Do that. Anybody with a question right now? Done? Okay. We'll open this up to public comment. If anybody seeing none, we'll close it up. Bring it back. Anybody want to make a motion on this? Oh, what's the number? Sorry. 12. Thank you.
Move to adopt resolution CCR-25-12 that approves a policy to prioritize sewer services for proposed developments that include housing units affordable to lower income households.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? All right. Moving on. Yes. This should be a fun one. Moving on to statistical research and public outreach for proposed tax measures. What you got for us, Todd?
Okay, I'll preface this with nobody feels like spending any more money right now, but this may be a case where spending money will net us in the long run. We've had our drainage impact fee measure go down. We had our sales tax measure fail. And the more that you have measures that are not successful, the likelihood that the next measure that you float, it's greater that that'll end up failing as well. So my take is on this is we need some help with a statistical research firm, which I've mentioned with you all before. I've spent some time over the last couple weeks talking to a number of firms that do this kind of work. Civics, ECM, Berry Campaigns, a bunch of others. Anyway, so what I'm proposing is to put out an RFP to accomplish 3 main tasks. That is to conduct voter opinion research to gauge the viability of a tax measure and to what degree, which is called sensitivity testing. What mix of initiatives would this tax measure fund? Then it's how we craft the right language for a measure, and then them creating the ground game for the support for that measure, since as public officials or appointed, we aren't in the position where we're able to go out and do that outreach. So it's building that ground game, getting the word out with somebody that's an expert in this. And part of this is based on, an interesting piece that, I've followed for a while, loss aversion theory. And that is, if you're going to float a measure, you're 50% more likely to be persuasive if you are talking about what a person or parties will lose as opposed to what they will gain. And so that's the approach that you need to take. It's in NerdFest, Daniel Kahneman, Pulitzer Prize winner, Nobel Prize winner, social economist, great book, Think Fast, Thinking Fast and Slow, if anybody's interested in it. But suggested floating an RFP not to exceed $60,000. I've got one firm that seems to be particularly able to deliver in small communities. Some of these firms that I talked to, I think, will be a little bit expensive, but I think that we'll have at least one firm come under that threshold by about $10,000.
Any questions? Go ahead, Tessa.
Do they provide their success rate?
They do. They actually have a list of, all of them have a list of references, and depending on the firm, pages of successes, varying size communities.
No? All right. We'll up to public comment. All right, seeing none, close it up. Anybody, any comments, make a motion? Because I look forward to seeing the study done.
I'm not interested in this. The most we could ask for people is a $0.25, and just go ahead and put it on the ballot in March. I don't know why we have to spend $60,000 or any money whatsoever. So, except to just not bother putting it on the ballot. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
John, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just don't know if you're right. Because I don't know. We had on a 1% last time. And as the city manager brought up, nobody really wants to spend any more money when we're, I don't know, at least $600,000 or $700,000 in the hole. Mm-hmm. But unless we're going to do wholesale cutting of personnel and other services, we're going to have to bring in more revenue. And we're looking at the next year to two, in a generalized sense in the United States, being contractive. And if that's the case, or even if it isn't, even if we're stable, we're going to have to bring more revenue in. I'm the guy that is usually the one person that's arguing not to spend money. And I'm not arguing for that. I'm arguing for the opposite, which is there are certain realities that unless we bring in more money, we will have to cut back services. There's just, there's no two ways around it. And again, largely due to no fault of anybody here in this room, because the state of California cut our sales tax revenue by not giving us credit for online sales. Sales tax, when somebody buys something online, it went to the town that fulfills in the state of California those orders. And that, that knocked a big chunk of money out of us. I don't know if a $0.25 is all we can offer or all we could reasonably expect to get passed in this town. I don't know that. And I know that the difference between a 0.25% and a 0.5% is somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000 a year. And if a 0.25% brings in 400, we're still 300 in the hole. And potentially getting worse. And I don't know. I tend to go professionals, of which I'm not one, to know about not just what can get passed, but how to, and what campaign needs to be involved in this. And
Yeah, but is this a campaign or is this statistical analysis? It's one thing if we were hiring a marketing firm to do this. I might be in favor of that. That's not what this sounds like.
I had a question about that.
Jason. Well, it's a good question. It's a good question. I don't know. Can we ask the city manager a question?
Of course, yeah, we can ask questions. We've done the public comment parts.
Does this include any advice on how to go do this?
It's all of it. You know, it's meeting with groups. Well, it's putting out a survey, finding out where people stand. It's like in, you know, ways to phrase certain questions. It's also what mix of services and floating questions that say, is it roads? Is it public safety? And then on top of that, it's crafting the actual ballot language and argument. But before all that gets there, it's building the ground game and doing the outreach to sell this. That's a big part of this.
So does that money, does that money include like the actual boots on the ground, people coming to the community, doing the actual outreach of going and talking to people?
Yes.
It does, okay.
But part of the, when you're doing the survey and doing focus group work is, you know, once you've talked to these folks and you figure out what the message is, it's also identifying the people in the community and then working with them to expand that footprint so you're covering more people to come out in support of it as opposed to just 3 or 4. It's real. It's the kind of stuff that we can't do on this body, and it is.
But we are allowed to pay them to do that?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I'll ask Wairika, see if they did that. Because they did pass a 1% increase at 50% threshold by calling it a general tax. We failed to pass 50% by calling it a special tax. Seemingly, people were not interested in supporting the police and fire departments. Pretty discouraging. So that's why I'm not really too gung-ho about this. I'm more gung-ho about the wholesale expense cuts at this point, yeah.
To the chair. Also keep in mind that if we do a special election, we'll have to front some of that bill to get it.
Yeah, no, there's an election in 1 year, beginning of March 26th. So we've got a year to get ready for this if you want to put it on the ballot again.
And then people are more likely to come out and vote yes, I would think, instead of the November election when everyone's coming out to vote for president. This one, I think, has a more likelihood of people coming out to
The March primary?
the March
Yeah,
primary.
maybe.
Yeah, we've got a study to help look into that, so.
I think that's part of what we would hire them for, to have them, you tell us, hire a professional.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, we got a motion on this, or?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I make a motion, we pass the statistical research and public outreach for the proposed tax measures from statistical research firms with a budget not to exceed $60,000.
There a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed?
Opposed?
Okay. All right, number 11, the Downtown Economic Enhancement Program, and Jeff will be presenting this with Todd.
Todd, you want to go first? You want me to go first? I'm happy.
I think, let me just preamble this with, you know, we talked a little bit about expanding the tax base, and I think what I haven't seen previously in Mount Shasta is a concerted effort to figure out, you know, what are, you know, we've had work done on what are our strengths and weaknesses. I think what we need to do is figure out where we've got deficits in terms of the services that we aren't providing, coming up with a plan to target, you know, entities that fill these bills and figure out an economic plan moving forward, you know, a specific set of milestones and metrics on what we do to increase the businesses that are up here and help them in some ways in terms of helping them market themselves, potentially using some EIFD money as seed money to get them off the ground, and just generally chart a path forward to increase our tax base. And we can do that in-house.
Yeah, so I'll riff off that. So self-funding is key here. I think What I tried to do in the staff report was outline some initiatives that are circling around the need for focusing staff's effort under current mandates. So this isn't creating something new, it's just taking highest and best use of our existing energy and then bringing it to bear on a focused result. And that focused result is answering those three questions under the purpose of the initiative statement, really, which is what can we do better? How can we improve? And then how do we know when we've gotten there? Or what are our success measures? Since Todd and I have been here now for some total of 3 to 4 years or so, I guess, we both have brought experience and insights from communities larger and smaller. And the version of this initiative that kind of resonates with both of us is kind of a strategic plan, but a light version. I think strategic plans tend to be great if and only if they're focused on where the rubber meets the road, not talking about the lofty goals, objectives, and strategies, but more tactical. And so that's kind of where we're headed with this is, if this resonates with you, if you find that there might be some traction intellectually for you here on this, then we can commence this conversation and come back to you with substantive recommendations that would include work products, means of outreach, because it is a very outreach-driven effort. It is touch points face-to-face, it's digital, and it's both an initial clarity on what we expect, why we're here in front of these folks, what questions we're asking, what we hope to get out of it, and then it's a report back effort to ensure that what we heard, what we articulated, did we get it right, and how can we move forward right down to the curb level. So it's very detail-oriented.
So what I would add, one of the things in our conversations internally is to take it down from something that's lofty. My pet peeve about certain aspects of planning is it just seems to be planning to plan more planning, and I think what we need here is something that's very concrete. These are the steps we take, these are the people we reach out to, and this is how we make it happen. And that's what we're trying to do here.
Any questions? No? All right, we'll open this up to public comment. All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment, bring it back for discussion.
Okay, so this isn't going to cost any money, right?
Just staff time.
Okay, good, because I'm not really quite sure. We need the population to go up. We need large businesses to come here and fill in the landing. Is this going to lead to anything like that?
It's all of that, and it's also, part of this has got to be figure out how we get workforce housing up here. That's part of it.
Yeah, who do you know? What are you going to do? What?
There are a lot of different ways. One of the examples is down in Dunsmuir. We had what's called program income. That's people paying off CDBG home assistance. And if you bring in, I believe it's over $20,000 a year, you can pull that into your general fund. And so we had right about $20,000 down in Dunsmuir. And we said, okay, we're going to go out for a grant, and I floated this thought bubble. All right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to come up with an economic revitalization plan for the city of Dunsmuir. Actionable. What are the steps we need to take? Part of this was hiring a firm that specializes in attracting specific retailers based on their comments or their contacts to the area to act as a de facto economic development director for 2 years. And we were successful with that grant, and that process is ongoing now.
In Dunsmuir?
Yeah,
I go to Dunsmuir every week.
I know.
Where is the economic growth?
It's the plan is underway. Is it going to be successful? I have no idea.
I think the short answer in terms of cost benefit is that we're already doing it, first of all. So in terms of investing or even programming new or additional staff time to such an initiative, I would expect that would be negligible. And the only additional staff time would be reporting back to you. Like I said, housing element, implementation, lots of policies coming, general plan update, and that touches everything that we do here. I think the SORA work, the trails, those also have fingers that are touching every part of both physically and programmatically. There's staff times, it's downtown, it's the shoulders of town. So there's physical challenges for connectivity, bike trails to get there. Is there something in that has funding attached to it that, if articulated in a more direct way or conveyed broadly to the citizenry, the merchants, those folks, word of mouth, investment happens, the word gets out, and in a small town like that, frankly, like this, I think the more help, the better. That effort, articulated and focused, goes a long way toward measurable results. So,
something concrete. When I came on, one of the desires was to make this more business friendly, and we had around the county 8 weeks or more for the review of a plan that didn't have any comments. And that included the time it took to send it up to Wairika for plan check. And so minimum was 8 weeks. Now we're at a place where if there aren't any changes within review time and doing plan check in-house, we're turning things around in a week and a half to 2 weeks. So that's been sped up. And I think the other piece is just what we like, making sure that people know about what we have, right? We've got a really decent team in-house that are willing to meet with people and give them concrete advice and shepherd them through the process and making sure that word gets out, and advertise that. I mean, I think you guys have sat in or been in the periphery when we've had these kind of meetings, and it helps with people that are doing this for the first time or the first time in this community to have somebody walk them through and give them a sense of confidence that we know what we're doing.
Jeffrey?
We're not authorizing spending any money here, is that correct?
No.
Okay, just.
So that was no on the front end and,
Yeah.
and no to your question. We can't. This is using what we have in-house. And bottom line is that we can't hurt, right? We have a lot of stuff going on, but why not take the run at it when we got the expertise in-house?
A run at it is grants, is that correct?
It's not necessarily grants. It's actually doing the work of how do we get the word out there in part of a newsletter that you've been talking about, and getting that rolling so people know what we have in-house and what we've done to change review times and the expertise that we have in-house, and that we're willing to sit down with you if you're feeling you're coming in and you're not sure what to do next, but you don't want to ask, or you've had bad experiences in the past. This is the time to come forward. We'll help you. That kind of thing.
So this is
A lot of it's communications.
it's requesting public engagement. It's a public outreach
Part of it.
portion. Part of this is as well. Okay, just one.
While wrapping up the general plan and getting that done as well.
Yeah.
At the same time. So this really isn't a motion item. We're just basically saying, good job, keep it up. Okay.
If this is a use of staff time that you guys want, then I think it makes sense, but we're just advising.
Okay. Casey, good.
So this is it'd be essentially just kind of putting into words and with a more formal structure in a document what we're looking to do as a city, and particularly with regards to business, and to help streamline and make it so that prospective businesses coming in feel more confident that they have an idea of how to get started here. That part of it.
That's part of it, and we've had some we've already got a Cosmont study that's looked at, the type of industries and businesses that seem to have fit and are likely to have the most demand up here. It's getting that kind of information out to people as well, so they understand if they've got an idea and it gels with that, it's out there. And oh wow, okay, you already paid for a study that says that what I would like to do is a good match. Okay, let's do it.
And ultimately, what you'll be asked is to prioritize. So we'll throw a bunch at you, and just back pocket estimate a couple of dozen initiatives potentially in our town.
And most of them are over the affordable housing?
I would say a third will be housing related. Others will be pure economic development 101, and the rest will be kind of public space to wrap up the former two. So as you know, private investment tends to follow public investment. Part of public investment is this very question we're asking you, is do you want to invest the time and the resource, not supplanting existing nor adding more, but just focusing it in the form of staff time to generate those recommendations to come to you.
It sounds nice. It's a little confusing. I get really excited about focusing energy to increase business and economic growth in the downtown area. That sounds great. The newsletter's going out. I'm not quite connecting those dots. But I also think that if there's intended focus on grant acquisition for downtown revitalization and making sure that someone is tracking what's the latest and greatest that's out there to make sure we aren't missing that piece of the pie, I think that would be awesome too. But yeah, I'm all for support of downtown vitality. I'm just not quite sure what.
No, I hear you. You
Yeah.
kind of just, not everything's making complete sense to us
It's a
lay
little-
people.
It's not fully.
I mean, short of saying, okay, we recommend, this would be you guys, we recommend that we flat out subsidize, but we don't have the money to do that, but let's say we did, subsidize private investment. In other words, well, we are thinking about giving away the land at the landings, so that's a subsidy of sorts, right? We're doing the surplus land.
We have to do that anyway. We provided them
Well, that's
with commercial
It's going to end up
appraisal.
being free land, right?
No,
Well, what's the price going to be?
it was, the original appraised value was 2.6 million for the entire site. Removing the portions that are part of the climate resiliency grant, we were talking about 2.1 million.
Okay.
That still stands. I mean,
And so by law, we have to do that?
we have to. If we drop the price 100,000 or more below what it appraised for, we face sanctions.
Well, that's a subsidy that would help get people here.
Yeah, no kidding.
So that's real. What we're talking about right now, I don't know. The way other places get businesses to come in is through subsidies, whether they like to admit it or not. One of them.
It's true.
One of the subsidies is they get some sort of waiver on the personal property tax, AKA unsecured property tax. So something wants to come in, it's manufacturing oriented. The machinery for that is super expensive, and the tax on that in this county, in this state, is 1%, and you can't get around it, I don't think, at all. So even if we wanted to do that, we probably couldn't.
Well, there are
Right
things.
now, Crystal guys are over there is dropping millions of dollars on new equipment. For instance, they're going to make their own bottle caps now
Okay.
instead of buying them from Berry Cap. That equipment, massively expensive.
Yeah.
They're going to have to pay a tax on that. Other states like Nevada and so forth, they set up some sort of waiver or discount or delay on that tax to get, and that's why businesses are moving from California to Nevada and Arizona and Texas, because they play those games very well.
We can opt. I mean,
So that's real.
we've got tools.
I don't hear the tools. I'm just
Well,
I'm in favor of doing this.
Well, no,
I'm hoping that you can give me something.
Yeah,
that
let me give you a couple tools.
A private entity would be able to sink its teeth into.
You know, we're able to, if need be, we could forego collecting taxes on a site that's purchased for a certain period of time. We could provide free hookups if they were building, say, workforce housing or, water to sewer. We can structure a Mello-Roos district that, to subsidize and pay for putting the infrastructure in. There's just a whole host of things. We can, offset.
Well, the EIFD itself is something like that, where
Right.
if the increment was big enough, it would help pay off the infrastructure.
Well, but also if development was proposed on a property that's within the EIFD, we're not going to have a lot of increment for a while, but, we could provide, a basic, seed money of even if it was $10,000, that may be the incentive for somebody to actually take on a property and,
Okay, well,
develop
now
it.
you're talking. So what we did do here for real is we put a moratorium on so-called impact fees. You might have been here for that. I don't think you were. You were.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed to have an effect. There seemed to be a little boomlet of restaurants and so forth.
That's when
Remember that?
Thrive was coming through and
Yeah.
Pipeline, we were helping them out.
So we've done that, and it seems to have had some results.
Okay.
It's hard to say that it wasn't coming anyhow, but like you were mentioning, cutting down the time, the permitting times and so forth, that is key.
Yeah.
That was a major complaint, seems to have faded away. So things like that are really good. So reinstating a moratorium on impact fees might be something worth looking into when you do this.
Yeah, that's part of the first step, is asking the
That's what I'm
market
looking
we
for.
serve.
Real tangible
Yeah.
I think that's what.
incentives for
Yeah.
private investment.
Yeah, and we'll do that. And it's not a short fix, but, we're hearing from the governor that they're actually seriously considering some aspects of CEQA reform.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That would be impressive.
That would be amazing, because that would help a lot in California.
That's since CEQA has been
I
in
get Christmas
effect,
cards from them.
since it's been in effect, the average time from submitting an application, actually from approval to actually getting it built, on average is 2 years. And a lot of that is, I don't want to be pejorative, but it's what's known as NIMBYism, and lawsuits that are designed to hold up a process, whether whoever is suing has standing or not, with the assumption that if you file with CEQA, you are going to bleed the applicant of money and carrying costs.
Mm-hmm. That's the greatest way to stall anybody.
So, you're just asking us to authorize you to put all of this in writing and just give.
Pretty much, and
list these options essentially.
it's some staff time, but I think
They want our blessing, it seems, to devote staff time to this endeavor, which I don't think anyone disagrees with.
No, not at all. Like I said, we got the brain power for it.
I just wanted to
Let's
get a
use
feel
it.
for where you guys were headed.
no,
That's
it's
all.
No, like Todd's saying, we've got the in-house talent for this
No, we
lined
do.
up right now. I think this is our
No,
best looking
We do.
20 years at this kind of thing, so.
It will come back to you, though, because we're going to go out into the community, and they'll be going, well, what about, hey, Casey, I heard from this guy, this planner guy, what's up? So, heads up, you'll get that.
No, that's fine. So we don't need a motion, it's just,
no.
yeah,
it's
just
sure.
go on, good job, keep it up.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. All right, well then, if there's no more discussion, we will move on to number 12, withholding of the T-bid funds from the county. And Todd?
Okay, so,
It's come to this?
Well, I mean,
We
there's
gotta come up with our own
I mean-
ideas on this.
It's a reaction to the fact that our Board of Supervisors representative came in and said that we need to take over a county road. And, you know, we've got the proof that, that says they're going to maintain it and do all the other stuff about this. We need it. They claim that they're seeing no benefit from it. And they threaten to stop plowing. And so if they do, it's dumb because it's illegal. And so what will happen then, we'll spend some time seeking injunctive relief, which we will win, and we'll spend money on that attorney and that time, and we'll seek the county to repay that. But in the meantime, we should be doing whatever we can, including holding back that 2% that we pay on transient occupancy tax to Siskiyou County tourism in the meantime, and it's a small amount, but in any other way that we can gum up their works, which is also illegal, but you want to play a zero-sum game, let's do it.
Okay. Questions? Tessa?
The T-bid is collected on top of like the TOT for visitors, is that correct?
Yeah.
So is that legal for us to withhold that?
No, but neither is closing Everett Memorial Highway. But if
Okay.
you want to go and take this position that is not legally defensible and will impact the city, then, you know, there's no reason why we shouldn't be doing the same.
I haven't been up there yet, no.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
If my memory serves, which I frequently would not want to bet on, every 5 years, the contract we have on T-bid is only good for 5 years. It has to be re-upped. So in essence, in any given moment, if we decide not to withhold it, that is breaking a contract. But at the 5-year mark, we're allowed to break the contract and not reauthorize it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that actually the T-bid does some good things. But ultimately, it seems to be a very suicidal position from our representative at the county. And ultimately, let me back up. Ultimately, we've got a meeting in April, and Mayor Redmond and Councilman Globman have said they're going to show. I'm going to show. Nobody from the county has said they're going to show yet. I think that there's a way forward. We've floated some ideas like the equivalent of what Oregon does on a snow pass, whether it's an annual amount that you pay or a one-time use. And that would be great. And there are a lot of ways that could work, including staging snow plowing equipment when we know an event's going to happen up there. And we could say, all right, if we got a way to pay for them, we could take some of our staff that are willing to work on their own time after they've plowed our roads, go up and do the plowing as long as we can pay them. I've gotten that affirmation internally. There are ways to resolve this. And I floated them, and the county said, we don't think the pass system is going to work. Here's our road, take it over. And I'm hoping that we can come to something that makes sense, and we use clear thinking on ways that are legal and mutually beneficial to solve this issue, but if not, we can be just as belligerent.
To the chair?
Okay, so go ahead. You haven't said anything yet, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question about just some of the language in this thing here. For instance, 3 paragraphs down, it says, should the BOS, Board of Supervisors, unilaterally decide to stop plowing the roadway? Do they have to come out and say in person or in writing, we're not plowing the roadway? Or is this just us deciding that, I mean, because essentially they haven't been plowing it all that well this season. I
Yeah,
mean, there was
they've
from
cleared-
Thanksgiving through the end of December, and then part of January. And Castle Lake is about 400 feet beyond Methodist Camp at this point.
Right.
But so I'm just curious, like, if we were to adopt this route, are we going to put some sort of like numerical threshold, as in like if they don't do it for X amount of days, then this triggers, or is this just more of a subjective thing?
Here's what I would take, like in the November storm, it didn't get plowed because their rotary plow went down. And they got it up, they got it taken care of. We got it in instance where it isn't plowed within a reasonable period of time. I get, make a call to the county tells me, we're just not plowing it. That's how you know.
Okay.
I mean, or we're getting stonewalled or we're not getting answers, that's where we go next. And I file an injunction.
Okay.
Any more questions before we go to public comment? Yeah, go ahead, Tessa.
Just a nugget that if for any reason that Mount Shasta plows that we need to reduce their gas tax reimbursement that they get from.
Oh, say that one more time.
They get a gas tax reimbursement for snowplow.
I know. That's the thing. They get a 50% reimbursement just like we do.
So we'd need to make sure that that's reallocated.
Yep, for sure.
Grab that money. Go ahead.
Yeah, excuse me. I did want to see if any of this has to do with Castle as well. Are we just specifically talking about Everett Memorial
We can
right now, or is
expand. We can expand it.
Okay.
If it's tourism for our town, we got no problem expanding this to
Castle's
Yeah.
pretty popular.
No, it's hugely popular, big time.
I
Been hearing
think-
it for years, going to Castle, going to Castle,
I think
going to
before
Castle.
we go to Castle, what I don't have, and I can get it, is the background on that road. Does the county own it? Is it an easement? Is it an easement I can pull and it clearly says they're on the hook for maintenance and operations? That's easy enough to pull.
Any more questions? Okay, we'll open this up to public comment. Anybody want to speak on this? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. So yeah, bringing it back as far as why I'm all for this is when we had when Justy Hansen and Sora hosted that meeting on the February 12th that Todd and Casey and I were at. The thing that stuck out the most to me and why I'm all for this is Justy said that in basically the Mount Shasta area of our towns, the businesses are losing anywhere from $8,000 to $20,000 a day in revenue. How's that number for you?
We are.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then in the same breath, our supervisor and the county public works are there going, we really want to do something, but you guys have to do it. We want to help, but you guys figure it out. You pay for it. We want to help, but you figure it out. It was idiotic. There was a whole lot of, this is hard. Why do we got to do it? And then honestly, and so yeah, with that kind of numbers we're losing, I was sitting next to a guide who was talking about how he had 30 snowmobilers that wanted to come and go to Bunny Flat. Road wasn't plowed. They stayed in Oregon and went to Bend. That's a lot of money right there out of 30 snowmobilers between hotels and food for a weekend. And we got to lose that all because the county's, well, screwing us over. They're flat out saying, F you to South County as far as I'm concerned. So if we can say F you back and keep the money so we get the shit done ourselves, who cares? The cowboys up there, they don't care. Ranchers don't care what we're doing down here. Right. So we'll just keep the money for ourselves. I don't know, maybe start our own county. How about the county of Jefferson? State of Jefferson is never going to happen. Nobody's going to give up, water rights, but how about we just start our own South County? Just our own county, Jefferson County, Ed can move up to Siskiyou County to help keep being a supervisor there. And then we'll just get 5 new supervisors out of, one out of Weed, one out of Mount Shasta, one out of Dunsmuir, one out of McLeod, maybe one at large. However the hell we want to make it work.
That's happened before in California.
But yeah, exactly, it's legal. All we need is just a I looked it up. All you need is just an assemblyman to introduce it. And you just get Sacramento to go off with it. And if we're the ones sitting on the water that way, another reason to Siskiyou County then. We'll keep the money ourselves. That's where I'm at. We're getting told to fuck off by the county. Fuck you, county. Anybody else?
You want to go?
How do I get that done?
Start our own county. We're being ignored by an entire county. Start our own. California and Oregon don't have to give up water rights. Is why the state of Jefferson's never going to goddamn happen. Let alone everybody's. Yeah, that's just not going to happen. But let's lower the thinking. Make it a county.
Making a new state is way.
No, exactly. That's why it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Let's just start a new county. California doesn't lose any water rights. And we can just keep the money ourselves.
The balance of the Senate.
To the chair?
Go ahead, please.
A couple of things. Following up on Councilmember Glaubman's commentary about how do we know when they're plowing.
Why do I care what Doris thinks?
I think need to be some, we've been told multiple times that we are their lowest priority. And lowest priority translates to no, they're not doing it. But we would have to come up in this arena somehow with a set of criteria that would define what not plowing means. That I would suggest is a part that needs to happen. And while conceptually another county, the breaking away from the county is one thing, there might be some initial ways to go do that that would be less large. And like...
Oh, no, Jeffrey, I'm thinking all we need to do to make a county is literally District 2. We don't have to be gigantic like San Bernardino or anything. We can be the smallest county in the state.
No,
for all I care.
and I would just have a suggestion, which is maybe it's not just us that withdraws from the county T-bid. Maybe the four cities here at the south end, we withdraw collectively. And we make our own T-bid.
You make a district
We make our own district.
for tourism.
And we will, and some of those monies go to plow, which of course benefits everybody here in South
You would
County.
set up a district.
And we set up our own district.
Yeah.
And it's that may lead to county things later on, but I mean, step one, we need to get the road plowed. I have talked to people, I've got 6 separate groups that I have personally contacted who did not come because the road was not open. I mean, just that,
So wait a minute.
6.
Is the T-bid, is it a district? Is it a special district?
No, it's for the Siskiyou County, or Siskiyou
It's a
Developmental-
quasi-business improvement district that is
Yeah,
countywide.
the Discover Siskiyou
Right.
Tourism Improvement.
And so setting up a smaller T-bid district is something that's, actually, that would be a lot easier to do.
It is very
You just
straightforward.
have to get the other.
And of course, we would yeah,
Three? You talking we too?
Yeah, we, McLeod, Dunsmere. So.
South Central
The
Mountain?
only,
and McLeod too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean, just.
Are they part of the T-bid?
Yep.
there's just one, a couple things. The order of magnitude of what we'd gain from collecting or holding on to T-bid funds is not a lot. It's more symbolic. We'd have to figure out a way, we'd have to figure out a way to buy a used rotary plow. I think we can get the manpower. You can't fund it on grants. You need to have a consistent, reliable and repeatable funding source for staff, but I don't think it's very expensive. It's actually the capital equipment cost that is tough.
Do you know what the annual amount that Mount Shasta sends to the county relative to the 2% T-bid process?
I can pull it.
I think it's on the order of $250,000 a year.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's right around,
Every
I want to say
percentage
300,000 or something.
Of TOT is about $80,000 to $100,000, right?
Well,
2% is going to be at least $200,000.
Yeah, it's
Just for Mount Shasta, then the other districts.
right. That's just for Mount Shasta.
Casey, go ahead.
In that same meeting on, what was it, February
12th,
12th? Yeah. The Siskiyou Director of Public Works, Tom, mentioned that they spend about $200,000 plowing each season. So, I mean,
For just the 2 roads?
that's what his claim was.
Yeah, I was going to say, what? No,
I'm
that's
just
what he was
saying
saying.
what
It
he
didn't
said.
sound like that much compared to.
I don't know, but that's what he said. So I'm just
Those
saying.
2 roads?
And there's still all that quit in them, and it's not even that not even that much.
They what? They don't sleep?
And so I think the number, I think
They
that
wanna shut that down.
I think that amount of money being paid would actually, if we had staff or people that were doing it that were not charging overtime, that $200,000 might actually be even less, because if a bunch of it is overtime, it's obviously going to cost more. So
Well, and
we theoretically could do it for less.
And here's another thing about that meeting, was Tom was talking about how with it not being a priority, when they get to try and plow the road, everything has melted and refrozen over so many days of ignoring it, to now there's rock hard ice, and he's like, and then the equipment breaks. So here's an idea, maybe it's just because I grew up in Michigan where we take snow plowing seriously, is the fact that you get to it before it's ice. So maybe why it's 8 foot of fluff, and here's an idea, then the auger is actually able to throw it farther and chew it up better and not break down because it's not ice for a week. Maybe a day after the storm, when it's still puffy up at that level, you can get rid of the shit. You know, instead of waiting 2 weeks and then it keeps breaking from the ice and the rocks. You know, I'm sorry, but just quit doing it the same way if shit keeps breaking that way. I'm sorry, I'm getting worked up.
So-
I can't handle this stupidity.
So a couple things.
There's a whole lot of quit from the county, and it's pissing me off.
I understand. There is a general consensus with Weed, Dunsmuir, and clearly Mount Shasta that the Board of Supervisors seems to be focused on North County and ranching and agriculture. What I don't know is whether Weed and Dunsmuir has a specific issue with some sort of county service that there are to the point of saying, let's withhold T-bid funds because we're so fed up with this. I can explore it. The whole idea of even, the state of Jefferson is just,
County, state of Jefferson's never happening.
Well,
That'll never happen. Not a chance. Not a chance.
It could be the county of Jefferson, the state of Jefferson. I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, they got to have economic output. Their economic output would be ranching and exporting crippling depression. I don't know what else they have.
To the chair.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, they might resell MAGA hats or something.
Have a casino.
It-
Have a casino.
City manager,
Hey, we can get our own casino. There we go, yeah.
I think we're looking at this the wrong way. If we withhold T-bid funds, this isn't the heck with you county. This is, we're going to support you in spite of your poor thinking.
Yes.
We're going to actually bring tourism here, which the county gets their share of.
Yes.
In multiple ways. We're actually going to promote that.
Yeah, we're paying them to ignore
We're
us.
going to open up the areas that pretty much everybody I talk to said, when we don't come here, it's because that's not open. And it's not, I got to tell you, I don't think that we're going after the county. No. It's we're going to actually help them while we help ourselves, despite somewhat I would call poor thinking. And the answer is, if they want to have poor thinking, that's fine. But we have, with this option in front of us, a way to move forward that actually we might end up I would hope we would end up collaborating with the county on plowing, because they have some pieces of equipment at certain times of the year that we might want to use. And so I think if we take a positive kind of, hey, look, if you guys can't, are you telling us, which I think is the bottom line that I'm hearing from them, is they don't have the money. We can dance around this any way you want, but they don't have the
They're not
money, and
gonna
they're not
do
going
it.
to find the money.
They have no interest, no.
And therefore they got no interest.
So two thoughts on this. One of the arguments that was made is that plowing that road only benefits the city. And there are residents along that road, there are also county businesses. And I would say also that when people are coming to this community and they want to get up Everett Memorial Highway, they're also coming here to use the ski resort. And I'll remind you that the funds from that ski resort that is in the county, those funds end up there. So they're losing money as well. It's in their best interest. I'm hoping we can come to some equitable solution and cut this nonsense out. Because here's the bottom line. If we withhold T-bid funds, they take us to court, they get them reinstated, or we wait until the contract runs out and we say we're not going to renew, and this is why. They stop plowing Everett Memorial Highway. We take them to court, you produce the easement, it says that you need to do this, and the court slaps an injunction on them and says you need to pick this back up again, and you need to pay Mount Shasta's legal fees. So it's mutually assured self-destruction. So maybe that's enough for them to understand that they need to work with us.
I doubt it, but Casey, go ahead.
Just on the idea of starting out collaboratively, maybe it won't end there. But at that same meeting, Tom did mention that if we could come up with the money to fund, he suggested 2 employees for plowing. He did say that he'd be willing to train them on the use of county equipment that we could then use and potentially just stage there. So the idea of hiring people to do the plowing and not having to exhaust their resources it seems mutually beneficial in approaching it from that aspect first,
No, I hear you.
and then going scorched earth if we
No,
have to.
I don't know, kind of not seeing the collaborative part, since we've already been told no so much, even in our safe
Fair
space
enough.
meeting on the 12th,
Fair
where we
enough.
couldn't, accuse anybody of anything. It was a safe space. But she was gonna say something else, I forgot now. All right, anybody else? All right, so it's not really a motion, we're just saying, let's do it and see where it goes.
It's approved withholding T-bid funds from the county should they decide to stop plowing Everett Memorial Highway.
Okay, so which they pretty much have. So basically,
You know, I can come
is this
back.
going to carry into next year? Like, okay, this is, if they
Yes.
decide again next year to just do the same shit they're doing.
Most
we
likely
can-
it's
Now this
done
is our
for this year.
avenue of
And we got-
agreed upon.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Tomorrow or Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Tomorrow night.
Oh, okay. Good, I got stuff in the morning outside I got to do.
It would be
Scared me.
good to get this blanket idea or this policy in place. And no, it's not really crisp and clean on what constitutes not plowing, right? And that's something we need to define, but let's get this in place so we can just go, okay, we're withholding it, maybe the city ends up taking care of it this time, but we're gonna get paid for it, and we're gonna get paid for it out of T-bid funds.
Yeah, well, just so we're all clear, I support this.
Yeah,
I do as well. I just.
no, it's
I think-
5-0. So.
Oh, okay. I would just like clarification on not
we're-
plowing, like
no,
what
we're-
that, what that means.
No, we've obviously got a plan in place now
Yeah.
to just say enough is enough.
You wanna go for a formal?
Oh, yes,
Motion.
okay, so if somebody wants to make a motion. I don't even know where the paper, what did I do with the paper?
I'll move to advise staff to withhold T-bid funds that are forwarded to, is it called Discover Siskiyou?
Yeah, from Discover's, here you go, it's this part right here at the bottom.
Okay. Withhold the the T-bid 2% tax collected that is forwarded to Discover Siskiyou Tourism Improvement District. There's a district, should the county decide to continue to not plow. Just Everett Memorial
Probably throw Castle in there.
and Castle Street.
I don't have any information on
Okay,
that.
so
to see
just
if that
Everett Memorial at this
applies.
point.
And then start somewhere, that's more important.
That's the motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? All right. Moving on to reports, outside meetings.
I've got a quick one. So Collier Interpretive and Information Center has completed the interpretive walk with signage. So if you want to go check that out, it's available. The more permanent members of the staff and volunteers that, like myself, that have been there for a while are working with Discover Siskiyou to help manage, hopefully come up with a management and marketing plan for the center, and that will go on. And then lastly, we're down to $11,000, but the administrator has made us think that we're going to survive. There'll be some monies coming in. So anyhow, $11,000, that's what we've got left.
Anybody outside meetings? No? All right, moving on to future agenda items. Let's see, you've got a public hearing on possible revocation of business
Can you
license?
stop there? Is this?
Is that,
I'm just-
I thought they were paying us, do we have to do that, or
No, that should come off.
that can be
and
crossed? Okay.
Condemnation of Chestnut parcels, that's the Brownell
Okay.
properties, but that can come off too.
Oh, we've done all that, okay. Gotcha, okay. Then moving on, we got the beautification committee presentation to council, TBD. Survey of Washington Avenue, TBD. Discussion and possible action, rental, lease, or purchase of lot located at the northwest corner of Alma and North Mount Shasta Boulevard, TBD. And the fun one we're looking forward to, the rebudgeting of 25-26 fiscal year.
Mr. Chair?
Anybody to add?
Yes,
Yeah.
one,
Date on, we should
Can
firm
we-
that up.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page here,
For
which
the
is.
budgeting
ca-
one?
Can we?
I thought that was in the next 2 weeks, that one. Didn't we make that a month ago?
yeah, Melissa is back from vacation tomorrow. Let me talk to her. The assumption was it was the next,
Yeah, at the end of the month, right?
let me see where she's
Or at
at.
least
If we
first
can
of
put it
April,
on, we
maybe,
will.
yeah.
We need to do it, and it's on our radar.
Yeah, if it's the first week in April, or first meeting in
Okay.
April, because of her timing and what's on her plate, that's fine, but I think it's,
Sooner the better.
I think it's sooner the better. Yeah, Chief?
Just would point out that it's a little difficult right now to do that because we still have fire and police coming back on the next council meeting with their contracts for approval. So we still don't have solid numbers yet, whether or not that's going to be approved. So that's
gotcha,
kind of
okay.
slowed us down a little bit because we don't have those two.
Yeah, to your point, there's no sense in doing it till we have those numbers in place.
Okay, good point.
But yeah,
I thought that was done.
April would be more beneficial for a department head so I can have numbers and have a little time to work on it.
Okay.
let me make sure my
The
deficient.
second meeting in April would be a little easier to make because it just gives us the time as department heads to look at all our numbers and where we can make those.
Did I hear you say that at our next meeting, there will be a presentation to us about the fire and police?
My understanding is from talking with the staff is that they are understanding from negotiator is that the March 24th meeting
Yeah, 2
would be
weeks.
getting presented. So that's my
Okay.
understanding.
So I've got draft MOUs. What we're trying to do, without getting into a lot of detail, is looking at 3 platoons of 2 people on with fire, changing the way we staff, in other words, as a way to cut down on overtime. We need to make sure that the proposed increases under both MOUs isn't going to blow up the budget, and see that any overtime savings, I've had conversations with Chief Gibson, Chief Burns, about the absolute need to put a cap on overtime, and if we decide we're going to this change in shifts, we'll know exactly what our expectation is for that overtime cap. So I'm pretty sure we're going to have those MOUs come back at the next meeting. I think what we need to add here is appoint an ad hoc for the fee study, for the master fee study.
Okay.
What fee is this?
For fees like, development review, records, fire inspections.
All the city fees just increasing or decreasing, getting it
We should
rounded
add
out,
that.
so have that one on there?
On the next,
I volunteered Casey to do it.
All right, I'm in.
And I'll be in.
All right, so we got 2 for that one. All right, anybody else with anything to
I mean,
add?
unless you, you pretty much in it. You're pretty much in on it.
I can get on that. I can get on this one with Casey, that's fine.
Or, either way.
Well, these 2 are already had hocked out. Plus, he's got the hardest job of all of us here.
He does. Yeah, I'll do it. Somebody needs to end the meeting.
Are we done with the agenda items? Is that, we're good? All right. Then motion, see you guys in 2 weeks.
So, you know what's funny, John? I grew up in Jefferson County. I might be living in Jefferson County again soon.